Imagine a world where production and distribution are driven not by profit but by resource availability and need. Today we compare two broad models, a resource-based economy and a capitalist economy. We'll define each, explore how they allocate resources, examine strengths and weaknesses, and consider practical challenges for moving between them. A capitalist economy is characterized by private ownership of capital, markets that set prices through supply and demand, profit-seeking firms, and allocation via prices and wages. Key mechanisms: private property, competitive markets, and incentive structures tied to profit and loss. A resource-based economy, or RBE, is a less precise but increasingly discussed concept. It emphasizes allocation of goods and services according to physical resource availability and social need rather than market prices. Decision-making may be centralized or decentralized, but the core idea is shifting from price signals toward technical assessments of resource stocks, renewable capacity, and societal priorities. So under capitalism, allocation happens via prices. When something is scarce, prices go up, which tends to reduce demand and attract more supply. Prices actually coordinate billions of decisions without the need for any central planners. This leads to efficient allocation in many cases, but it can also result in things like externalities, for example pollution, as well as inequality and a bias toward short-term profits. In a resource-based economy, allocation would rely on resource accounting, ecological limits, and, prioritized needs. Decisions might use algorithms, planning councils, or participatory budgeting, all informed by scientific data like material flow analysis. The main objective shifts to maximizing well-being within planetary boundaries instead of just maximizing profit. Capitalism's strengths include the scalability of the price system, which coordinates really complex supply chains. It also creates strong incentives for innovation, thanks to the profit motive. And honestly, it offers flexibility and rapid adaptation to changes in demand signals. So let's talk about the strengths of a resource-based economy. First off, it explicitly integrates sustainability and recognizes natural limits, which is really useful when dealing with climate or resource crises. There's also the potential to prioritize equity and make sure everyone's basic needs are met. And it can actually reduce waste by planning production to match actual need, rather than relying on planned obsolescence or just aiming for endless growth. Now, for some examples, capitalism has definitely driven rapid technological innovation, that's for sure. But a resource-based economy could offer, potentially better resource stewardship. Think of things like planned, renewable energy grids or circular systems that recycle materials instead of just throwing them away. When we look at the weaknesses of capitalism, there are a few big ones that stand out. There are externalities and market failures like pollution and climate change that the system often doesn't address well. Inequality can also increase, mainly because of capital accumulation. Plus, capitalism tends to have pretty short-term horizons and often underprovides important public goods. Alright, so let's dive into the weaknesses of a resource-based economy. First off, there are information and incentive problems. How do we match individual preferences and drive innovation without those crucial price signals? Then there's the risk of inefficiency or bureaucracy, especially if the planning process becomes too rigid. And let's not forget about political feasibility. Transitions often face significant challenges from vested interests and the need for coordination. It's a complex situation, Now, can innovation really survive without profit? Well, yes it can, but the incentives definitely change. There are alternative mechanisms out there like public research and development funding, prizes, reputation systems, community ownership, and mission-driven enterprises. Behavioral economics even shows that people respond to a mix of incentives. Intrinsic motivation, social status, and monetary rewards all play their own roles. So it's not all about profit, but rather a blend of different motivations. So the most realistic near-term options, honestly, are hybrids. These are market economies but with stronger regulation, carbon pricing, expanded public goods, universal basic services, and circular economy rules. Examples of this approach include things like green industrial policy, resource taxes, and cooperatives that mix market signals with social goals. Both models address scarcity differently. Capitalism really excels at decentralized coordination and innovation, while resource-based models offer clearer pathways to sustainability and equity. But, yeah, they still need to solve information and incentive challenges. Practically speaking, a combination, markets guided by strong rules, scientific planning for commons and social policies, offers the most workable route. Ask yourself, which values should guide production, profit, sustainability, or human flourishing? Learn the data behind resource accounting and if you can, test hybrid policies in your community. Okay, here are the key points. Definition: capitalism means markets plus private ownership. RBE, or resource-based economy, means allocation by resource availability and need. The mechanism difference is price signals versus resource accounting. Capitalism's advantages are coordination, innovation, and adaptability. RBE's advantages are sustainability, equity, and reduced planned obsolescence. Both face challenges with incentives, information, and political transition. The practical route is hybrids. Think carbon taxes, circular economy policies, public research and development, and universal services. The main takeaway? There's no perfect system. The goal is to blend strengths while managing trade-offs.